Yo, what is up, guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, Conor Benn defeats Adrian Granados by a 10-round unanimous decision. All in all, this was a relatively routine win for Conor Benn, quite uneventful. He was always in control in this fight, and he won the vast majority of the rounds against a pretty tough gatekeeper slash journeyman. And yeah, all in all, I think these sort of rounds, these sort of tricky rounds, will actually be good for Conor Benn's development. However, was this an impressive performance? Was it a performance that leads you to believe that Conor Benn is one of the best prospects in the welterweight division? I would say no, if I'm being honest. The hype that Conor Benn is getting right now, I get it. He is who he is. His dad's Nigel Benn. There's always going to be that level of hype there, but I don't think the current level of ability and talent really matches up with that hype, if I'm being honest. But Conor Benn basically in this fight was the aggressor throughout, and he basically took that kind of role from the very first bell. Historically, Adrian Granados is relatively aggressive. He likes to come forwards, kind of smother you, and basically he tries to outwork you. That's his sort of style. We've seen that over numerous fights with Adrian Granados, but in this fight, he was actually fighting on the back foot, flicking out a jab and trying to sort of basically box Conor Benn. To be honest, he was trying to land some snappy counters with his straight right, overhand right, and his right uppercut. And he was actually connecting on Conor Benn with a lot of those jabs and a few counter right hands. But he was just far too passive in the majority of these rounds. As I said, Conor Benn was the aggressor. He was walking down Granados behind a hard jab, and behind the jab he would try to look for the overhand right to the head. And yeah, Conor Benn was kind of walking down Granados. He himself was landing good jabs, good overhand rights. I think Conor Benn's best shot in this fight was his straight right hand to the body. He would actually catch Granados with that shot as Granados was backing up. So Granados would basically back up in straight lines to the ropes, and as Granados was backing up, Conor Benn would step in and land the straight right hand to the body. I think that was one of his best shots in this fight, and for my money, Conor Benn didn't work the body enough in this fight. As I said, when that straight right hand to the gut landed, at times it looked like it was affecting Granados. You could see him take a deep breath. You could tell those body shots had something on them. I wish Conor Benn would have been more consistent to the body, not just for straight right hand, but hooks as well, and really try to chop him down to the body. And yeah, Conor Benn was picking his spots, landing some nice combinations here and there. On the flip side, Granados was trying to box, landing some flicking jabs, some nice little sharp counters. In the exchanges, Conor Benn basically got the better of most of them. To be honest, there were times when Granados was getting through with his own shots, in particular a short left hook and an overhand right. But, Granados in this fight just wasn't busy enough. Granados has the reputation of being a journeyman and a gatekeeper, but he never really fought like one in the past, if that makes sense. He would always, come to fight, throw a lot of punches, be super aggressive. But in this fight, he fought like a journeyman. He fought basically trying to spoil, survive, be awkward, and, nick a couple of rounds. That's basically what he was doing in this fight. And, Conor Benn won this fight relatively clearly, in my opinion. I think you could give Granados a couple of rounds, but really that's it. All in all, I'm not going to say it was an awful performance by Conor Benn, but to me it was just bang average, to tell you the truth. At times, Conor Benn found it difficult to close the distance. He was throwing out of range quite a lot with his straight right, and also throwing himself off balance with his left hook. Conor Benn in his early days, as we know, was super wild with his power punches, and we saw a little bit of that in this fight when he was fighting a guy who was being more elusive. So going forwards, that is something to look out for. When Conor Benn fights like an elite guy or a good guy who can move and box, he might struggle to close the distance. And you still see a lot of defensive holes in Conor Benn's game. Quite frankly, after watching this fight, I can see why they're avoiding David Avanesian, because based on that performance, I think David Avanesian dog walks Conor Benn. I'm sure Conor Benn would be competitive with his speed, with his combinations, but I think Avanesian right now is just too big, too strong, and he's on good form, and he's further ahead right now. I think Avanesian beats that Conor Benn. From what I saw of Conor Benn, I think the ideal fight for Conor Benn right now is Michael McKinson. I think that's the ideal fight for him. Awkward style, but a style in which he needs to improve against, as we saw in this fight. Michael McKinson can do that style to a better standard in comparison to Granados. So I say Michael McKinson next for Conor Benn. I think that fight makes a lot of sense. And after Michael McKinson, I would say David Avanesian. The thing is with Conor Benn, the hype's got to a certain level now where, yeah, the guy still needs developing, but the hype's got to a point now where, he needs to be in competitive fights. He needs to be fighting guys who have a legit chance. So guys like Michael McKinson, David Avanesian, these are the sort of guys Conor Benn should be fighting in his next couple of fights. They're talking about Adrian Broner. I mean, a few years ago, Broner would have been a good opponent, but based on what we've seen from Broner recently, I've got no interest really in that fight. The build-up would be cool, but what about the product itself? I think Broner would shit the bed. He just doesn't throw punches anymore. They're also talking about Amir Khan. Leave Amir Khan alone. Fight some guys who are in and around you. McKinson, Avanesian. These are the sort of guys Conor Benn should fight next, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, share your thoughts below. A bit disappointed in Adrian Granados' performance. I've got to be honest. And as for Conor Benn, he got the win. Didn't look great, but he got the job done. What more can I say? Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Delboy. Peace.